Andy, I got a picture of you. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Christina Felchlin, Support Manager at LedgeView Partners. I'd like to welcome you to this month's LedgeView Dynamics CRM User Group webinar. Our highlighted topic for today is the Outlook client. We have a lot to cover today between our highlighted topic and the awesome list of questions, so I'm going to get right to the agenda. We're going to start off our webinar with the Outlook client. Many of you exclusively use the web client, some exclusively use the Outlook client, and many of you may use the hybrid approach like I do. Michael is going to start off by telling us the pros and cons of the Outlook and web clients. Just remember, you can use whatever method works best for you and your organization. In support, we often get the question, what version of the Outlook client should I be on? Michael will help answer that question. He will then explain tracking and set regarding emails in the Outlook client. He'll then wrap up the Outlook topic with best practices, troubleshooting tips, and a demo on creating a lead in both the Outlook client and the web client. As always, we will answer your pre-submitted questions. I just have received some outstanding questions for today's webinar, so thank you to all those who sent in those questions. Then I will close out the webinar with resources and upcoming webinars. On to the housekeeping items. To ensure the best audio quality for all attendees, we have everyone on listen-only mode. If you have a question, please submit those in the question pane of your GoToWebinar control panel. I know we typically don't have much time for questions, but we'd still love to hear from you during today's presentation. If time does not permit, we promise to follow up offline. Lastly, today's webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand after the live session. All registered attendees will receive an email this afternoon with an access link to the recording as well as the presentation slides. With the addition of new team members, we kindly ask that you submit all support requests to either the support line at 920-560-6888 or email the team at crmsupport@ledgeviewpartners.com. Please do not email the support consultants directly, as we want to make sure we are getting your questions as quickly as we can. And by sending your request into the general queue, we can accomplish that. We also want to let you know that our offices will be closed on Monday, May 30th for the Memorial Day holiday. All right, before we get into the content, I want to launch a poll to best understand what client you use for CRM. Do you use the Outlook client, the web client, so that'd be accessed through your internet browser, or a hybrid approach, like tracking and set regarding through Outlook client, but all other interaction is through the web? I'd like to thank you for taking time to participate in these polls. This gives us a better idea of what customers use so we can help provide better demos in the future. You will notice Michael demos a lot from the web client, as that is his preferred use of CRM. What are the results? Oh, a good mix. So about 31% in the Outlook client and 34% each for the web client, or a hybrid approach. Wonderful. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Michael. Please present or welcome back Michael Dodd, Support Consultant with LedgeView.
Thank you, Christina, for that wonderful introduction. I hope everyone is doing well on this great Tuesday morning. I know the weather's getting hot outside, but we've got some hot topics to talk about today, so let's get to it. All right, so we're going to start out with the Outlook client versus the web client. As we saw in that poll that we just took, there's a good mix. So if you are just using the web client or you're just using the Outlook client, this is a good way to know the pros and cons of each. So for the Outlook client, one of the biggest pros is that you can track or set regard. And you'll hear a lot of us here in the support team say set regard. What that simply means is in the activity and email activity, there's a regarding section. And you can set that to be an account, an opportunity, a contact, a lead. So you can do that right from the Outlook client, right from the email. So it's a huge pro for the Outlook client. It's very convenient. If you're already in Outlook for most of your job, it's mostly what you do, and you don't use CRM as often, it's very convenient to just jump into CRM whenever you need to right from Outlook. And after you've tracked or set regard an email, you can see that right in the email who it's associated to. You don't need to go into CRM and go directly into the activity. You can just view it right from the email. Now, however, there are great pros to the Outlook client, there are some cons as well. It's not as efficient, and that has a lot to do with the lag time. It can take a little bit longer to load items to the Outlook client, and it's a little bit of a clunkier navigation. And what I mean by that is the new user interface in the web client is much more user-friendly and intuitive, and the Outlook client groups it, and where you have to expand the grouping, and if you're not sure exactly what grouping it's in, you could be looking quite a while to find what you need to look for. It can cause Outlook to crash, and the reason for that is because you're taking a very powerful CRM tool that's out in the cloud or is, on a server if you're on premise, and you're taking that, you're plugging it into Outlook. So if there's other add-ins or other plugins that are in your Outlook, it can cause it to crash. And that's definitely something you want to contact us here at CRM Support. We can help to mitigate those and remove its crashing by eliminating some additional add-ins that are in there. And it does open records in the web version. However, it opens it without the navigation efficiencies. And when we do a demo later, I'll show you exactly what I mean. With the web client, it's very, very efficient. As Christina said, I'm a big fan of the web client, but the main reason for that is because of the navigation. It's easier to navigate. It's more efficient because of that navigation. Everything is available in your top blue ribbon on every screen. You have faster load times because you're not going between Outlook and then launching a CRM web page from Outlook. And as I touched on, it has an intuitive UI, which is a user interface. Web client cons, you cannot track and set regard emails right from the CRM web client. You have to go into the Outlook client to do that. Or you would have to manually enter emails as an email activity. Now let's move on to, you decide that you want the Outlook client, but what version should you have? As many of you know that are online, we're going through the 2016 upgrade, so if you've scheduled that or are scheduling it and you want to keep with the Outlook client, if you've moved on to MS CRM 2016, you want to be on the Outlook client. It doesn't matter if you're online or on-prem, you want to be on the 2016 Outlook client. We, however, highly recommend not downloading update 0.1. We've noticed a lot of issues with that, a lot of bugs that haven't been quite worked out, so we recommend not downloading that update. If you're currently on CRM 2015 Update 1, which means the enhanced navigation, so the tiles where you need to scroll, or if you're on 2015 Update 0.2, which is the on-premise version of that, you still want to have the 2015 Outlook client. For online, you want to be on Update 1.1, and for on-premise, Update 0.1. There is no 0.2 Outlook client update, so while you're on that version, it's not that update. If you're on 2015, which is still the older navigation, you're still going to be on the 2015 Outlook client because you are into that year version. You're going to use Update 0.2 for online and continue with Update 0.1 for on-premise. Now, if you're online, you're most likely on 2016 or one of the two 2015 versions. If you're not, I highly recommend moving on to them. So for 2013 and 2011, we're just going to touch on on-premise. So if you're on CRM 2013 on-premise, you want to have 2013 Outlook client installed. And you want to make sure you have Update Rollup 4 for Service Pack 1 on the client and server levels. Update Rollup 4 allows it to communicate with Windows 10. So if you're still on Update Rollup 3 and you've gone to Windows 10, you want to make sure you get Update Rollup 4. If you're on 2011 on-premise, you want to have the 2011 Outlook client and Update Rollup 18 for server and client. There are many of you who are going to be on earlier versions of that Update Rollup. If you're above 12 or 12 or above, you can easily get to the 18 rollup. However, if you're still on Update Rollup 11, there could be some significant modifications to your custom code that need to be done because there's a significant change between 12 and 11 for the Update Rollups. You can always contact us here at CRM Support at LedgeView Partners, and we'd be happy to help you. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of the Outlook client, the tracking and set regarding. I'm going to show you exactly how to do this in Outlook, but I want to just cover it quickly. To track an email, it's very simple. You just simply click on the email and click track. Now the disadvantage to tracking is that all it's doing is putting it into CRM. It's not actually associating it to any record. So you'll be able to see that under the My Activities or All Activities section. If you want to associate that email to a record, so a lead, contact, opportunity, account, any of those, you're going to follow a few different steps. I'm going to show you exactly how to do both of these. So as you can see here, we have 3 different emails from Christina. For our first one, we're just going to simply track it. We don't have it associated to an account yet, so we're just going to click the email and click track. So you see here it's going to come up with tracking Outlook, and it's going to say this email is being tracked in CRM. It's not regarding anything because we never set it to. For our next one, we actually want to have this set to regard a specific account. So we're going to highlight the email, click Set Regarding. It's going to bring up a lookup field, and we can choose all these different entities. For this purposes, we're going to go with Account. I'm going to associate it to LVP. So I've check marked it, and I'm going to click Add. So this is going to do 2 things. It's going to track it, put the email into CRM, and then associate it to this record. And as you can see here, it's being tracked, and it's regarding LVP account. Now we're going to touch on some best practices for the Outlook client. One of the biggest things that we recommend here at CRM Support is using a hybrid of the Outlook client and the web client. And what that simply means is that you use the web client for all your CRM activities, meaning creating accounts, creating leads, going through the sales process. The main thing you'll use the Outlook client for is to track and set regard emails like we just did. And the reason for that is because you're going to get the navigation efficiencies, the timing efficiencies of the web client, plus the major pro of the Outlook client, which is the tracking and setting regarding of emails. Now, if you're going to send over 100 emails at one time, and this is usually done through, a marketing campaign, workflows, items like that, you're going to want to make sure you utilize server-side sync or email router to process your outgoing emails. And this is done through email configuration. The reason for that is because the Outlook client can't handle that many emails at one time. And server-side sync or email router is going to depend on how your Microsoft Exchange is set up. So again, that's something that your CRM support experts here at LedgeView Partners can help you out with. You also want to make sure you set to sync with CRM at the shortest time allowed. Your system administrators can set this up in the system settings section of the administrative settings. And you also want to utilize set regarding instead of track. Really the only time you should be using just the track button is if the account or the lead is not in CRM. And at that point, usually if it's a lead, you're going to want to enter the lead if you're communicating with them. So set regarding is usually the best option to go with. Now I'm going to go through some items that are signs that the Outlook client needs troubleshooting. If the Outlook client is Outlook itself is crashing when opening, it'll start to open and then close. That's a sign that you need to contact either your IT department or us here at LedgeView Partners, and we can help troubleshoot this issue. If your track and set regarding buttons are grayed out, or when you're accessing CRM in the Outlook client, so there's a section where you can actually access CRM, and I'll show you that in a little while. If that says trying to connect to CRM, it means there's an issue that needs to be resolved. Any error messages, any error message that pops up will need to be resolved, otherwise you're not going to get the functionality of the Outlook client. One way to easily make sure you don't get one of the errors is to always make sure the email address associated to your user in CRM is the same email address you're using in Outlook, because that's a very common error that comes across. In the lower right corner of Outlook, it states online with Microsoft Exchange. It should say connected to Microsoft Exchange. So if you see that and you're experiencing issues, this will be an issue that we'll want to change for you. Or your CRM link is not showing in the lower ribbon bar. So again, I'll show you a quick way to get into CRM. If that's not showing, that means the Outlook client is not functioning properly. Now I'm going to go into a demo and show you exactly how the web client and the Outlook client function for the exact same features. We're going to create a lead and qualify, and then we're going to try and access advanced find, and I'll show you the main differences. We're going to start with the web client. And from the web client, if we want to create a lead, this is our main drop-down. We just click on Sales and go to Leads. And then in our upper ribbon bar, we click New for our new lead. And then we'll just fill in the required information. In this case, we're just going to name it Test. Our lead is going to be myself, and our company name is going to be LedgeView. So now we've just entered the standard information that we need to. We can click Save. It's going to create our new lead. And there are two ways to qualify this within the web client. You can click the Qualify button here, which will immediately create an opportunity, or you can do it from the view. You can check mark it and click Qualify. So from right here, we'll click Qualify. There's a duplicate warning. It's just letting me know, so I'm just going to click Continue. And it's going to create our opportunity. So as you can see here, very simple process, all right in the web client. It's not opening any other windows. And the main thing to keep in mind here, this upper blue ribbon bar is always intact. Your navigation points, your global search, your quick create, and going back to recently viewed items is always there. So you can quickly jump back to any other item you were working on. And advanced find, it's right here. Just click on advanced find from any screen in CRM. It's going to be available. Now for the web client, this is the quick link button that I was talking about. So for LVP, that's what my test org is named. So we click here. It's going to bring us into CRM for Outlook. And then we're going to need to go into sales. Now here's where it can get tricky of what you're looking for. So if you go under sales and you're thinking, okay, customers, leads isn't in there. It's just showing accounts and contacts. It's actually going to be under sales is going to be where your leads is located. So that's what I meant by a little bit of a clunkier navigation in terms of determining where these entities are located. And then it's going to bring up the leads section. And right up here in the upper left is where you're going to create a new record. So we're going to click New, and it's going to pop open this new window for us. I'm just going to drag it over. So there's a new lead. It looks exactly like it did in the web client. The only thing is, so you can see we're missing our advanced find. We're missing our navigation pieces, our quick create, our recently viewed. So all of our navigation efficiencies aren't going to show in this piece because it's assuming you want to use the Outlook client. So we're going to create a new lead. Again, we're going to go to Test. And we're going to name this one after Christina. And we're just going to name this Partners. So if we do Save, and there are two ways we can qualify this. You can qualify it through the Outlook client, and just like in the web client, by check marking it in the Outlook client and clicking Qualify, and you can do it right from here from the lead. So we're going to click Qualify. It's going to process, and it's going to create the opportunity. Now, if we wanted to jump to Advanced Find, we're actually going to have to close out of CRM. We're going to have to go up into this upper bar, and then go to Advanced Find. And it's going to bring up our Advanced Find. So some of the efficiencies, and when you're doing one record at a time, it doesn't seem like it's saving you a lot of time. But as you're working in it and doing multiple different creation of leads or working in different opportunities, that's where throughout the day that navigation efficiency can really come into play. So in this demo, we saw the different navigation experience, the load times, efficiencies or inefficiencies of each version, and how the Outlook client interacts with CRM, meaning it opens up the web client to actually enter the lead. And it's going to do that with existing records as well. Anytime you actually open a record, it's going to pull into the web client. So that was our Outlook client demo, and now we're going to jump into our user questions. Our first question is, can I use tasks to automatically generate and send reports? This is a fantastic question. This currently cannot be accomplished through CRM tasks, as tasks is just an activity. It's a housing of data as a to-do task and doesn't trigger any events. And any other out-of-the-box functions, workflows, sales processes, any of those items, they actually cannot be used to generate and send reports. The only way that that can be done is through a custom SSRS, and basically that's just a reporting service. It can be set up and it can be done for on-premise CRM instances. And that's because the SSRS can be set up right on the server that CRM uses, SQL Server. For online CRM instances, however, it's a heavy customization project because you need to sign up and pay for a Microsoft Azure server and then do the SSRS off of that. So it's a very, very heavy customization project. It's usually 30 plus hours is what we've seen. Our next question is, what Outlook plugins or other programs could interfere with the Outlook client when the user tries to link emails to CRM? If you're having issues with tracking emails to CRM or you're having issues with it opening, it can be two things. It can be taskbar installations. We've seen issues with Google Taskbar, at the Ask Taskbar, and Yahoo Taskbar. So if that's the case, we tend to recommend removing those and then testing to see if it resolved the issue. If you're having issues with Outlook crashing, this is definitely a sign that there is an Outlook add-in issue. We highly recommend removing any non-business essential add-ins. So that's something where you can come to CRM support, or your IT department would definitely know which ones are your business essential add-ins. But for instance, Google Maps add-in, Hotmail add-in, Skype, Social Connector, those would be ones to remove first. Now, a thing to keep in mind with Outlook client troubleshooting is there very well could be where the Outlook client is crashing and it leads you to believe there's an Outlook add-in issue, but that could be only part of the problem. So that's where with the Outlook client, if you or your IT department have started to solve some of these problems, but you're not able to continue, we have a great experience working with the Outlook client, and we would be happy to help. How do I export from an advanced find that is over 10,000 records to Excel? As you've heard me say over many of our webinars, I am a huge fan of the upgraded navigation in 2015 Update 1. But it also had another great new feature that was added, and that was the ability to export up to 100,000 records. Because a lot of people were running into 10,000 and they would consistently go over that. So they made a change where you can now export over 100 or up to 100,000 records. If you're on a version earlier than 2015 Update 1 and you happen to have Excel 2016, you can utilize Get and Transform feature, which allows you to export more records. You can use a query from CRM. It allows you to connect, or the Microsoft Power Query for Excel 2013. And now if you're on-premise, you can utilize regedit, which is a registry edit that allows you to set the value to export more than 10,000 records. Our next question is, how do I sync the user data in CRM to Active Directory? The simple answer to this one is you cannot sync user data back in CRM back to the Active Directory. The reason for this is that CRM only does a one-time sync of user information. This one-time sync is triggered when a new user record is created or the user record in CRM is updated with a new Active Directory username. Any changes after that one-time sync are not going to flow from Active Directory to CRM. Our next question, is there an automated import from Outlook to CRM? And if there is a way to only select certain contacts in Outlook to be uploaded into CRM. This is a fantastic question, and actually to answer both of these questions, it revolves around one item. To do this, under your personal options within CRM, as you see on the right-hand side, next to your name is a little gear button. When you click that, then click on Options, it will bring up Personal Options. If you go to the Email tab, just right here, it'll bring up a bunch of settings. The main one to look at is automatically create records in Microsoft Dynamics CRM. If you have this box checked and you set this to contacts, it's going to automatically create contacts of the sender or organizer of tracked email messages and meetings. What that simply means is that if it doesn't already exist in the CRM and you track that email, it's going to create that new contact right into CRM for you. Now, it's kind of an all or nothing. If it's not in there and you track it, not in CRM and you track it, it's going to go into CRM. But that's kind of how you pick and choose. You choose which ones you're tracking, thus it'll put in the information and create the record in CRM of that contact. Our next question is, what type of automation can be set up to sync between Outlook and CRM? So this kind of comes in two parts. Regarding what is synced to Outlook from CRM, this can be done through the system settings by a system administrator. So if you navigate to Settings, Administration, and then click on System Settings, and you navigate to the Synchronization field tab right here, and then click on Synchronize Fields, it's going to bring up this box right here, Synchronize Filters. So you set the entity type that you're syncing between, and then you can choose what it will sync, the connection. So you can choose the flow if it's going to sync to Outlook and to CRM, or if it's only going to sync one way, or if it's not going to sync at all. So that's how you set the information. To set up the minimum time between Outlook syncing with CRM, the system administrator can actually set this in the same system settings, but under the Outlook tab. And set whether users can schedule synchronization in Microsoft Dynamics CRM Outlook. So you can set if they can even do this. If you check this to yes, then you set the minimum time. Each individual user can then go into their personal options and set that time. It is going to tell you the minimum time, so you will not be able to go below that. Our next question, does a new contact created in CRM get automatically added to their Outlook clients? The answer to this is yes. This is done automatically by default with the Outlook client. The one thing to remember with this is the Outlook user must be the owner of the contact record for this to occur. Our next question is, can you import contacts from an Excel spreadsheet into CRM? This is definitely possible. I see a lot of people using this, and it's a great tool. Just to do this, you'll simply need to set the column headers in your Excel file, your Excel spreadsheet, to match the fields in the contact entity. So first name, last name, phone number, email address, they need to match what's in CRM. Then save the file as a .csv or comma delimited file. Go to the contact entity in CRM, click on Import Data, then it'll bring up this section to browse. Choose your .csv file, you'll click Next, it'll bring up a summary, click Next again. You're going to want to click on Default Mapping, and then click Next. It'll bring up a list of entities to choose from. You're going to want to select Contact from that drop-down list. Click Next. Then it's going to give you the option to match column headers. So where you set them to be the exact same fields as column headers, it's going to automatically match those. Anything that's slightly off or it doesn't recognize, it will state not mapped, and you can choose which column in CRM or which field in CRM that column should go to. Then click Next, and you're going to need to decide whether to allow duplicates or not. This is only going to come up if you have duplicate detection enabled. If you don't, you're not going to get the allow duplicates question. Now that you're importing new data, you need to select the owner for the records. So in this case, I'll set it to myself. If you're setting it for multiple people, you want to make sure you have owner listed in your data import. Click Submit, and it's going to bring up a link to the import section in CRM where you can see the progress. Our last question for today's webinar is I want to populate a field on the opportunity entity from a field on the lead entity. So when a lead is qualified and an opportunity is created from that, as we showed earlier, they want the information from the lead source field to populate a lead source field that they added on the opportunity entity. They want to know if this can be done with a workflow or if this is something that requires programming. The answer to this is that it definitely does not require programming, but the best way to do it is through data mapping. And the reason for that is because you're going from the lead entity that's creating the opportunity. So anything that's created from one entity can be used in data mapping. This is done through the one-to-many relationship section of the entity you are mapping from, so the lead. I highly recommend contacting CRM support here at LedgeView Partners, and we can walk you through exactly how to do this, because setting up data mapping can be complicated, and there are a lot of rules and errors that can come up if it's not followed precisely.
Thanks, Michael. We had one question that came in that I think is worth taking the time to talk about. I know we're a couple minutes over, but Michael, can you demo the set regarding versus track and why using track isn't the best option? It seems set regarding adds an additional step of manually looking up the client you are emailing.
I can definitely go on that. So from here, there's two different ways to track. So you can either click track, and when you do that, it's just going to track the email. As you can see here, the regarding is set to none. If you want to associate that to a record, there's two ways to do it. You can just click set regarding, but if you've already tracked it, you can click none, and then it'll bring up the lookup field. The reason I state that going to set regarding is usually a better step, because it's best to associate emails and activities to a record that are in CRM. That way the data is always connected. The activity is always connected to the record. That way if you ever need to do any auditing or you need to go back and look at any information, you know what it's connected to. That's why I recommend doing set regarding, because then you're not clicking track, then clicking regarding and setting it up. You're just simply tracking and setting it to regard an item right away by clicking set regarding.
Perfect. Thank you for taking a couple minutes to show that.
Not a problem.
All right. So back to our PowerPoint. If you can click back there. So we have resources. If you're new to the webinars, please note that you can catch up on all the previous webinars. When you receive the on-demand email today, you can click on the View the Webinar on Demand hyperlink. There you will be directed to the user group library. The recordings are clearly marked with the topic we highlighted that month. You can either watch the webinar or view the presentation slides. CRM UG. With the recent evolution of Microsoft Convergence into Envision Conference, CRM UG, which is a dynamic CRM user group summit, has now taken the lead on being the premier nationwide event for current and future users of Microsoft Dynamics CRM. You can join the Microsoft Dynamics CRM community in Tampa, Florida this October for CRM UG Summit 2016, the largest annual gathering of dynamic CRM users. CRM UG Summit is designed, led, and attended by dynamic CRM users, partners, and other experts from around the globe. You'll meet and learn the others who walk in your shoes, discover new ways to use Dynamic CRM and its supporting solutions, and go home with fresh ideas on how you can implement right away. You can visit www.crmugsummit.com for full event details. The space is limited and is filling up fast, so be sure to reserve your spot for this exciting conference. All right, our next CRM user group meeting will be Tuesday, June 28th. Due to summer and vacations, we will be 1 week later than usual. We hope you can attend live, but if not, you will get a link to the recorded version. Our June topic will be workflows. Also, the reoccurring user group meeting ends with today's webinar. The link to register for the June user group webinar will be included in the on-demand email today. Please sign up and submit your questions. In that same email, you will also find a link to a survey. Please take a few seconds to let us know what time and date will work best to hold future webinars. We apologize for going over today, but we had so much to talk about. Thanks for sticking around. On behalf of Michael and I and all of us at Ledgeview Partners, we'd like to thank you for spending time with us today. Have a great rest of your day.